Hi, I'm Lisa Freefeather. On this channel, we decode the deeper architecture of your life. Today is Living Off the Wall, Mercurial Wednesdays. We are currently in a Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer. Okay, what does that mean? Um, I'm going to say what it what it basically means is that Mercury moves very quickly and it's at home. It loves to move fast with speed. And in mythology, Mercury, Hermes, was the god that had the ability to go to Hades and come back out because basically once you go to Hades, you're not coming back out. But Mercury, that's why it's considered I keep thinking pomp and circumstance, but it's not, it's the cycle pomp, right? So this, when it goes retrograde, what it means is that it is the time that it's slowing down. And not only is it slowing down, it is a reflection point because what the planet is actually doing is it kind of it's the way the planets are moving around each other, but it has that kind of effect. And so when Mercury retrogrades, it means that it's revisiting degrees. So every zodiac sign has 30 degrees. And when it's retrograding, it revisits. It slows down and it revisits. So Mercury is usually going around fast, but when it does retrograde, it goes back. And think of putting your car in or having a car go in reverse and drive forward and reverse and then go. Now, in the sign that it's doing it in is in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is a water sign. Cancer is also thought of as being emotional. Well, is water wet? Uh, it's sometimes it's stuck in this whole like, oh, it's just emotional. No, if you think of the ocean, if you think of water, it's life-giving, life-sustaining, and every energy and every sign has its high road and its low road. And yes, when we're sending out those zodiac memes, Cancer can also be on Front Street for being uber emotional. And what I've discovered is that that emotionality means that uh, like the ocean is vast. People who have either sun or rising sign or moon in the sign of Cancer can feel. Now, we all have this capacity, but this is the characteristic of the sign Cancer. Cancer rules the fourth house. I can't believe I'm doing all this astrology. I said that this channel is not going to be about this kind of astrology, but hey, listen, these Wednesdays, because my sun is ruled by Mercury. That's why I let myself just do the off the top of the dome. At any rate, it rules the fourth house, which is a house of home. That's why, also you'll have the moon ruling Cancer. Cancer has the archetype of mother, of nurturer, of home and ancestry, etc. And so as Mercury's gone back through these signs, sometimes, at least in my experience, the women I've worked with who have a sun sign Cancer or rising sign Cancer or Cancer placed predominantly in their charts, they feel so deeply. And sometimes they find themselves like biting their tongues, suppressing what they want to say because they're afraid of creating a tidal wave, of creating, I want to say tsunami, but that's more like earth and water. But anyway, a tidal wave. That's more on the mark, right? They are afraid of like drowning and pelting people with their anger and their emotion or their heat or whatever it is because they might have held this in for a bit. So, with Mercury being here, even though it's slowing down, it's giving Cancer the capacity to communicate its feelings, communicate desires, maybe even help people at this particular time remember things. Your ancestry lives in your DNA. So this is a great time to remember things. And so the people who typically really feel this time are people who are ruled by Mercury. And that can be your sun sign, your rising sign, or your moon sign. Maybe even if you have a stellium, which means that you have three or more energies, planets. I say energies because the sun and the moon are luminaries. We just call them planets to make it simple. But you might have multiple in either Gemini or Virgo because those two zodiac signs are ruled by Mercury. That's my musings where I do Living Off the Wall. Michael Jackson was a Virgo, right? And his music touched people deeply. And I would say that there's definitely a level of magic in there and so many other disciplines that I've discovered, as I told you in another video that I did. I've been doing this deep dive and really experiencing his music newly. Okay. So when you have, if you're Virgo or Gemini, sun, moon, rising, yep, you may really be feeling this. Now, yes, this is an energy that also has an impact on communication because this is a thing that Mercury rules the third house, which is, like I said, communication, also siblings. So that's going on. I've used the Gemini season, which is air, which can carry you if you have ideas. And boy, oh boy, did I use that cycle to I got so much done that is unbelievable. And I got very little sleep done. And so once we hit the summer solstice on the 21st, I started to slow down into this kind of like crawl. And I would say around the 29th, which was also the full moon in Capricorn, I was like, all right, I need to take infinite naps. And one of the things I recognized during that time is when I was growing up, and I think it still exists. I don't know if it exists for younger generations the way it does for, I would think, millennials and up, is Black excellence. And that Black excellence, when I look at it, I had to look at it to see, in this current time, is it a sabotage or is it a support? And growing up with this sense of Black excellence and still saying it and living inside of that sense of how to navigate the world is exhausting. And I also have found that it has been a bit of a response in reaction. I would say it's been a bit of reaction to what my ancestors have dealt with in this country, these here United States. This is the extent that I can speak on. If you're from another region and you find that this is the same, please comment, let me know. I would love to broaden a global perspective, but I can only talk about what I've experienced and what other people share with me. Okay. So as I've slowed down, I've worked on a whole lot. You know, my 5-day moon compass challenge. I did a lot of work in my own business and working on a client's project that both had close deadlines, right? And so coming into Cancer season, I allow myself to slow down. I recognize the elements, I recognize the energies, and I'm sharing this with you because I'm inviting you to look at this yourself. Because sometimes we think that we're supposed to go, 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 work, 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 do, 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 and very little time to be in joy, be pleasure, be have this existence, like use the cycles around us and recognize the cycles. So what I did over the holiday is I did a little painting. I got that little that little box set and I just painted, and I've shared on my channel some of the things that I do that's art related to really allow ourselves to breathe, to reflect, to be inquisitive. So I don't want to make this video long. I love show and tell. Here's another, right? So this is another thing that I forget what it's called, but you could just do some lines and color them. And because I'm a visual learner, a couple of years ago in this group that was learning about law, and I got interested. I wanted to know about I wanted to know about SCOTUS. Who are these people on who are the Supreme Court? So justices. So I started I would color code with the popsicle sticks to see. Now, what's interesting is that we have very few fire signs that were or are justices. So yeah, I got this laminated. These are some things that I found online. Let me see. Let me bring it. Can I bring it closer? Can you see it? Okay. So I got interested. I was like, I wonder who are these people? Like, is Pisces? Um, green is Earth. So we have Taurus, uh, you know, a few of these. And I put on the back a little bit about their lives. And did I get anyone? Scalia is relatively okay. Amy, oh, okay. Amy Coney Barrett. I didn't pull them all out, but let's see. Air sign, yellow, Aquarius. Interesting. Anyway, I have, and then if you saw one of my other videos where I was talking about the generations, so I use, right? So I love using my hands, having these thoughts and putting them together and talking about them. In this Mercury retrograde slow down, I've been thinking through memories, my ancestors, acknowledging, well, I have my ancestor altars. I do acknowledge my ancestors, but now I've been thinking a little further back. We just had 250 years of acknowledging 250 years of the United States birth, right? And what I find myself doing again, because I had certainly have done this, is really get back to and understand that what is the saying? Go something about the victor, basically. The people who win the war or win a situation, they control a narrative. And so I often look at things in reverse and, flip it. Like, if you're telling me this, if you won against my ancestors and you're telling me this, then I have to think that there's some truth in it, but most of it might be turned on its ear and not necessarily the truth. And so what I've been thinking about is going back to doing research in my genealogy and some of the clues. And then this is what I want to leave you with. You want to start getting curious about things. Because if Mercury's anything, it is getting a sense of curiosity, not a reaction, but just get curious about hmm, how do you think like that? Why is this like this? Why is this happening at this time? How did that happen? And what I find is that people think that life started when they got here. And I say, think of it as like being on the interstate. You're on a journey, you're going cross country. And when you enter the on ramp to get onto the highway, whatever the main interstate might be called, there were cars already traveling. There was already something going on before you got on. And so that's the same thing, is there's other things happening, and have a curiosity. Get curious about the root of something. Get curious about how it began. And so I think of the fourth house of ancestry of that one part of it. And so, yeah, I'd like to know how are you doing during this Mercury retrograde season? I know oftentimes it's seen as like, oh my gosh, beware. Considering that my son is ruled by Mercury, it is something that I've felt impacted by. When I say impacted by, I'm not saying Mercury is doing anything, but I'm tuned in and I can feel it and sense it. And so I just like, okay, let me slow down, because it's been my experience that once Mercury goes direct, stations direct on July 23rd, then the words that I'm saying, what I'm putting out, people suddenly hear it again. So I'm not going to make myself crazy. I am going to wrap this up because I really just wanted to come on for like 10 minutes. But as you could see, I can talk. If you want to hear about things like this, if you want to um, go in a little bit more about how you feel, how you sense, I have a 5-day moon compass challenge that goes in and helps you like really map out what's your moon about, which is all about nurturing, what element it's in, how it shows up in your life, how you want to be nurtured, and map some things out beyond that. Because when you feel your body and you sense things around you through the way that you're designed to, you just know yourself that much deeper. And as far as I'm concerned, the best education that you can have is your self-education, that you know yourself really well. All right. I will see you in the next video. There's another one that's being suggested for you here. All right. Thank you for stopping by. Mwah. Bye for now.